Thank you.
Oh, got it.
All right.
Okay, we're still, who are we missing? We got Lynn. Oh, we're still, no, I think this is everybody right now, isn't it?
No Urbans.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's who we're
Daniel's
missing,
not gonna
are
be
the
able to
two
be around.
urbans.
And doesn't look
So
like Daniel will either. So that's 4 of us that won't be here. So
Kevin said he was off today. That's why we picked today. And could be here. So would you mind texting him, Jonathan? Do you have his text information?
Yeah.
Okay.
there's
Did
still
it,
some of us missing though.
Dina is in Mexico,
Mexico.
and Daniel is sick with COVID.
That's 9.
9. So who are
What
we
about
missing?
Linda Michelle?
Yeah, that's who we're missing. Linda.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who's Linda?
Linda Michelle, she's our new member.
Oh.
Let me see and make sure that she got on the invitation. I'm really sure she did, but I will take a look. All of this stuff, it's so sorry, but you know, it happens to the best of us, right,
I think
Gary?
the 2 most important things about Zoom are the first 5 or 6 minutes when you're going around going, are we here? No, there's a problem. Do you have the right link? Hold on, I'll send the link. And then the other part is everyone saying in unison, you're on mute.
I didn't see her on this one. Okay, I'm going to send her one now.
I texted Kevin.
Okay. I screwed up. I really screwed up. Anyway, I'm terribly, terribly sorry to have to put you through this, Gary.
No problem.
I'm trying to figure out how to send the darn thing again. Do it this way, compose, get over here, compose. Linda. Oh, Linda Michelle. Too many groups. There it is. Okay, you're all getting it again. Because I couldn't separate her out. All right, now we're back. And did everybody get a chance to introduce themselves?
No.
No.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that, Lynn? And then Jonathan, you can do that when he gets off the phone. He's working and doing the call, Gary.
No problem.
I'm sorry, I heard my name.
I said, Lynn's going to introduce herself and then you're going to.
Oh, okay. I got to finish this other call real quick.
Okay,
Am I the last one? Can I be last?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my name's Lynn Blair, and I'm one of the newest members to the group. And I met the group through the Right Practice, which where my friend Anna Lipster is an author, and yes, and I know you too. Yeah. So anyways, I've been writing for a number of years now. I have a trilogy I'm working on. I'm on the 3rd book. I plan to release them all together. Written a number of short stories, and I really like being part of this group.
Nice.
Okay, and then Linda,
Hi.
introduce yourself to Gary.
Oh, hi, Gary. Good morning.
Hi. Good
My
morning.
name is Linda Clark. I publish under El Michelle, And I am working on a novel. I'm editing a novel right now. I've published one short story, and I have 2 short stories in the work and an outline for a second novel.
Okay.
And in
Yeah.
between, I teach writing and reading to middle schoolers.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Okay, and Jonathan, you're on, my friend.
Timing. It's all about timing. Now, my only problem is that I didn't hear anyone else introduce themselves, so I can't duplicate what they said, but I'll just wing it because I'm good at that. So I'm a civil engineer. I live in Fairhope, Alabama, which is a town that likes to bill itself as a town that has more authors than it has readers. I've been writing for a long time, but I've tried to become more serious about it probably over the last 15 or so years, and really, really serious about it over the last 1.5 to 2 years, which is how I ended up being able to hook up with this group, and been really enjoying a lot of the growth as a writer by learning from others and building others up. And again, I don't know what everybody else said, so that's me.
I'm a science fiction romance writer, and I've only been writing for, well, the 19th of this month. It will be 2 years. I will have been writing. So, and I'm what I like to think of as a grandma Moses, because I'm 70 and I didn't start until I was 69. So, and I think let's take it from there. Let you take it from there, Gary. Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll open it to questions.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gary Snodgrass. I publish under 3 different names, GL Snodgrass being the main one.
Oh,
I retired from the U.S. Coast Guard 20 years ago, and then worked for the Navy for 11 years. And then, but about 12 years ago, the last child left the house, and I finally had time to start focusing on my writing. And I had just dabbled, I hadn't done very much, but then I started getting serious. I got into the writing group, one of those happenstances that changes a life. The writing group, we broke off into our own smaller writing groups so we could meet once a week, all at about the same level, all just starting out, figuring out what we were doing. The 4 main people in that writing group have all been published for 10 years. Some of them are hybrids, published by big houses and doing independent. Some, like me, are just independent now. So I have 90 titles on Amazon. Yeah, everything from short stories to novellas to 100,000 word novels. About 50 of them are novels, full-length novels. I write in all genres that I find interesting: science fiction, westerns, Regency romance, young adult, whatever I feel like writing at the time. Mostly Regency, because that's where I make my money. But I'll break it off and do something else when I find something that I want to write. That's about it, I guess. I don't know where else. I mean, I love meeting new writers and other writers. It was about 7 years ago. I retired from the Navy, the civilian side of the Navy, and my wife and I downsized, and she gave me 6 months to make a living out of this, in addition to my military retirements, and I was able to. And so I've been able to keep doing it. So I have to go get a day job. So that's why, that's what I enjoy. It's great. I get to do what I love and get paid for it. So life's
That's
good.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
No,
Go
go ahead.
No, just that I've learned a lot over these last 12 years since we got together with the writing group. In fact, I was just reminded about that the other night. We meet on Zoom once a week, and one of the writers' son came in to bring her something, and I realized he's a 12-year-old boy. And I realized he was a baby in her arms the first time we met. So it lasts for a long time. I've been very, very lucky. They've been great. We've all felt like we went through a master's course in the first 3 or 4 years, learning from each other. You know, somebody would learn something, teach others, advertising, craft, networking, all kinds of different things. And it's been a real joy learning and doing something new and different. And here it is. I don't know what you guys are looking for, so I'll answer questions. I'll just tell you from my perspective what things are like, and like I said, all four, the four of us had started the first original writing group. We met at another writing group and then broke off into our own. 3 of us are full-time writers, and the fourth one is significantly part-time writing. In other words, she's half her regular job in the school system and half writing for income purposes. So that's about where I'm at.
How does your wife feel about you writing romance?
Fine. In fact, the first Regency I wrote for her. And it took off, and I did real good and made a lot of money. That's what made the difference. Not a lot of money, but I made enough money to keep doing it. When I was in the Coast Guard, I was up on patrol and had read everything in the library, and there was a box in the corner full of books donated by one of the wives, and it was full of Regency romances. And I ended up, there's nothing else to read. I'll read these, and I ended up liking them enough to where I read them all, and over the years, she was always a big Regency reader, and so I picked up enough and to where I could try it, and it worked. There's no telling how your life's going to go. So I've done 20 Regency novels, 6 Westerns, 10 science fiction, and about 15 young adults. Those I wrote for my children, my adult children then, or young adult children. But it's the Regency that pays the bills.
Mhm. Now, go ahead. Does anybody else have a question before I go on? Go ahead.
Yeah. Gary, the Regency that once, do you use Gary Snodgrass as your
I
name
use
for that?
No, I use GL Snodgrass, and I use that for all of my books, all of my GL Snodgrass books, and then I use Nate Johnson for my science fiction.
Okay, thank you.
And I use GL not because I'm hiding myself, but really because that was what I was used to signing my name as. And my first books, in all honesty, the first books I put out, I didn't want anybody that I knew to know. And they weren't Regency, they were science fiction and, regular thriller type books. I just didn't want to be judged by people I know. Who do you think you are, a writer? That type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't advertising it to my friends or family, except they knew, but I was more worried, aunts and uncles that I hadn't seen for 20 years calling me up and saying, who do you think you are writing books? So that was really why I did it. And it just worked out best because of the Regency thing. Some female readers wouldn't buy a Regency romance written by a man.
Mhm.
I wasn't hiding it, but I wasn't advertising it either. That type of thing. And also, I think that was my thoughts at the time. I don't think it's necessarily true now, but that's what I was thinking 10 years ago. Good.
No, I was just gonna say, that's the first thing I thought when you said GL Snodgrass, because I thought I see a lot of females who will abbreviate and just use, like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, exactly.
She did that because she didn't think that people would want to buy a book like that from a female.
Yeah, well, especially because she didn't think boys would buy. Right. And and I don't know the truth on the matter, and it's too late to change and too late to worry about it. And so I just keep going with it. It has never caused any problems. It hasn't been an issue, but I haven't been famous enough to where it would be an issue. You know what I'm saying? I just make a living and not become on anybody's radar. Like I said, I don't hide it, but I don't advertise it either.
I do have a couple of questions. I don't know if anybody else does.
Anna had one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I saw, your romance, Regency romances on, online.
Uh-huh.
And is that the only way that you publish your books?
Yeah, I
Or
publish, yeah,
Not
sorry.
standard publications?
yeah, I only publish on Amazon and KDP or Kindle Unlimited. Because that's where I can make the most money. Okay, I can, if I when I first started, I tried getting published or tried finding an agent, and there was some interest, but not a lot. Mainly, and I found out later, I was talking to an agent. One of the main problems is they want young writers because they're not going to make any money off of them for 20 or 30 years or 10 years. So they didn't, an old guy like me, it's a lot harder to find an agent because they're taking a risk and they're not going to make any money for a while. So they're looking for new young agents or new young writers. But then two people in my writing group got agents and both of them got screwed by agents. So, one agent strung her along for almost 2 years and wouldn't put, the book's not good enough. The book's not good enough. The book's not good enough. And come to find out later that it was, he was just soaking up everybody he could find and then locking them down and then holding on their books until he could find the right one, so he's going like through 20 authors that he locked down who never got their works put in front of publishers. And like I said, for an independent author, I make more money in Kindle Unlimited than I do selling books straight out. In fact, maybe 70 to 80% of my income is in Kindle Unlimited. So maybe 70, but now the audio is starting to pick up a little bit. So,
And how do you market it?
I do Facebook ads. Not a lot, $5-10 a day, just to keep, on the new books. I do BookBub ads. That's for me, the key is BookBub. I got in early when BookBub was first started, and I built up an audience inside BookBub. So most of my Regencies, I can always get a BookBub for. I cannot get a BookBub for my science fiction or my Western or anything else, but for my Regencies, I can, and that's a huge marketing. That pays very well.
Is there some reason why you couldn't get it for the other genres as well?
It's first off, it's super hard to get a BookBub nowadays because there's 1,000 people apply for every slot.
Oh.
And I don't have an audience inside BookBub, followers inside book for those genres, and so that's why I believe that's my excuse for why they're not picking me on those.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I've never talked to them. I know there are times when I want to send them a case of wine because I thank them so much for giving me the Regency one because it made all the difference. It's it would be a lot harder to make a living nowadays without those BookBubs. I'd have to change my business model. I put one out every 3 or 4 months. When I would get a new Regency out, and they put me in front of thousands and thousands. So put me in front of millions of readers. So it's beneficial for me.
Great. That's great.
Jonathan, you had some more questions?
So you mentioned that you retired from the Navy as a civilian,
Right.
and your wife said you got 6 months to make enough money to
Right.
do this. So
Right.
I didn't mention I worked for the Corps of Engineers,
Okay.
and I got 6 years, 9 months, and 17 days until I hit my minimum retirement age.
Yeah.
Not that
But you're not
anybody's
counting. Yeah.
No, nobody's counting. And that is a part of the reason why I have pushed myself over the course of the last year and a half or so to really, get a little bit more at it, because my thought process was that I could spend the time where, we're only selling a couple of books,
Right.
rather than my wife look at me and say, I got 6 months and I have to push hard.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was, I was lucky. I had my military retirement, and she was working. And so we weren't going to starve. And we had built up enough nest egg where I had 6 months cushion.
Sure.
And if not, then I could go out and start delivering pizzas. I could.
But I
find
was
work.
assuming there was an overlap in your own writing.
Yeah, there was. About 4 years I've been started writing, but I hadn't been publishing. I've been writing and books and trying to get through an agent or publisher or something like that. And then I decided to try the independent route. And that's what the 6 months were. Okay, if you can't, if try the independent and see if you can do it in 6 months. And I had 4 books ready to go at that point. None of them related to each other, not in the same genres. I had a YA, 2 science fictions in different subgenres, and a Regency. And I just put them all out there. And the Regency is the one that took off. I think I got some really good Amazon love for some reason. They pushed it a little bit and it took off. And then I got a book club on that Regency and it really took off. And if there was one time I was thinking, oh man, I'm going to be a millionaire someday. That didn't work. But the first few months, there it was really, really good. And at that point, I saw the possibilities. But I'd spent 4 years writing those books beforehand,
Right.
working a full-time day job and stuff like that, and learning a lot. I learned a lot about craft, but also market. How can I put it? Networking, and just learned a lot in those 4 years. The writing group was fabulous because we all bought different things. And if I'd started those 6 months with nothing, I never would have made it. I luckily had 4 books, and one of the books hit. It could have been anything else. That's the other thing. One of the things that we've learned in the writing group is, first off, you don't know what's going to work, but by putting a lot of product out, it's easier to hit in the sense of it's the shotgun effect. You only 1 or 2 of the shots are going to hit something, but if you only put out one every several years, it's a lot harder to find that connection to an audience. The other thing is content is king. This is all based upon the people who want to make a living at it versus people who want to just love writing and want to publish and are not looking at it as a business model. But if you're looking at it as a business model, content is king. We always say the best advertisement for a book is your next book.
Right.
It's how you need to be discovered, especially as writers. You need to be discovered by readers, and readers are very finicky. They're a lot more picky than they used to be because they have a lot more choices, but they don't necessarily want to invest their time in an author they don't know. So you've got to find ways to get to be known. And that's another thing that's nice about Kindle Unlimited is it doesn't cost them anything to check you out, So.
This is Kevin that just joined us.
Hi, Kevin.
He's in Albuquerque. And we're up to asking Gary as many questions as we can.
Sure.
And I think it was, Linda, you haven't asked anything yet. And then we'll let Kevin and then back to Jonathan, okay?
Sure.
Perfect. So Gary, one of the things that you mentioned was your business model and also talking with regards to having several things ready.
Right.
So for example, in my case, where I'm working on the novel, I've been working on it for a couple of years. I was in a DIY MFA group, but I had it started before then. But I'm also now starting to look more towards short stories. What would be your suggestion in terms of building a business model, and what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, first off, you got to, what's your objective? Is it to get readers, or is it to make money, or is it, you got to know what you want to, what your objective is. For me, it was making money, doing something I love, but making money. Build an audience. That's the key. And A mailing list are very, very important. Quick releases is extremely important. That's where I keep coming back to saying your next book is your best advertising, and the shotgun approach. Quick releases, by quick releases, I'm talking every 3 months, every 4 months, because people forget about you, and by putting a new, one of my writing group puts out a novella, 20, 30,000 words every 3 weeks. And as a result is always in front of her audience. Build up your own mailing list using MailChimp or something like MailChimp. It's free for the first 1,000 people. And once you've got 1,000 people on your mailing list, it's worth paying the $10 a month or whatever it is. Get a presence online. I not do a lot of online stuff. I don't interact with my fans. I don't, I have a newsletter, and all I do is a newsletter is put it out to my mailing list of new releases. I got a new release or I got a sale. I don't do family photos or all of that, like some authors do, and which is no problem, but I don't want to be involved in my readers' personal life, and I don't want them involved in mine. That type of thing. So yeah, build an audience through Facebook, through newsletters, through friends and family. Do not buy newsletter email addresses to fill out your newsletter, which is a thing, because whoever's on that list is not going to read you, not going to buy you. You're just wasting your money. It's network with other authors. I find it beneficial to network with authors that are in the same position as me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's if I was to start today and I had the time, I would have 4 or 5 novels in a series ready to go. Have spent as much time as I could building an audience, even though I might have put some short stories out or some novellas just to get my presence on Amazon. And then I would release one every 3 weeks. I'd have 5 in a ready to go, and then release one every 3 weeks. And hit the first one. I'd release the first one at 99 or at regular price, and then once the second one came out, I dropped the first one down to 99 cents because I'm just trying to get audience, and hit it real hard with advertising, especially at first. You have that 30-day window where the new release list on Amazon, critical. You need to get in the top 100 on that list in your subgenre, because that's how people find you. And so you might spend advertising money, but if you're not spending enough to get you in the top 100 of that subgenre, I'm not talking about the main genre, the subgenre, then you're not doing as well. What I'm getting at, let's say you're spending $10 a day on advertising and you're 200. Spend another 20 to get you in the top 100, and you'll make 4 times more than you would have otherwise. That type of thing. Yeah, that's what I do if I was starting out today. I'd get 4 or 5 books ready to go, because you need that churn. You need those 30-day lists, because that's a huge help from Amazon. Amazon will start seeing you start making sales, so they'll start sending out emails and notifying people about you and things like that if you can get up high enough. So I know authors that are spending thousands of dollars a month on advertising to make thousands of dollars a month. All right, they're not, you'll see some people up there, number 102 in the store, in the overall store. Well, they spent $20,000 advertising to make $18,000. It cost them $2,000 to get to there. And you got to be really careful. Really, I am a cheapskate by nature, so I don't want to waste money. And because I work, this is my living. Every dollar I spend is a dollar taken out of my pocket. So I be very careful on not overdoing advertising. And I've seen a lot of authors. They're looking for validation. They were looking for, see, I'm number 100 in the store. I'm, aren't I great? Well, they spent $20,000 to get that, and it's just not worth it to me. So be careful of anybody who says that they're doing it. How can I put it? If anybody new on the scene jumps to the front of the line, I would always assume it's advertising, not the quality of the book. The book might be great. I mean, but there's very, very few books in today's world that are going to come out of nowhere without advertising to get up to that height. So I mean, a book in the top 100, it's probably making 20,000-30,000 a month to get there. Okay, the top 10, they're making thousands. They're making hundreds of thousands a month. So, but none of us are going to be there. So don't fight to get to that spot. It's like winning the lottery, or spending a bunch of money that you don't have to do that. That makes sense? Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's one of my pet peeves because I've seen some friends go down that route and it really hurt them. So just be careful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kevin, you're next.
I don't have a question. I'm just listening.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't know
Jonathan?
that someone asked something already, so I'm just gonna.
Okay.
That's okay. Jonathan, you're next. And by the way, the last gentleman that just joined us is Kevin's father.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Listen. Pump me for as much information as you can get, because I was there 10 years ago, and I was doing the same thing, and I got help by so many writers. And it's also nice to talk to people of the tribe, the author tribe, that we're all a little weird and different. And so, yeah.
So you mentioned I wrote down what you said, and I didn't
Okay.
write that down because I said, here's my new business model. No,
Okay.
I didn't take it that way. I understand that, when I started, it's probably about the time I finished a novella length book. And that's when I said, oh, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's time to start looking. And that's when I started really figuring out, you don't just write a book and then throw it out there and all of a sudden you make money. I realized there was agents and editing. And I've gone back now and looked at that novella that I wrote, and I was like, what is this shit? I don't even know.
Exactly.
Because my writing has improved. And,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But it was I think it was around 32,000 words. And I had one agent that responded back to me and said, look, nobody really would want to agent this because it's a novella. You got to go to the same amount of effort as you would for a novel, which made me say, I guess my next one is going to be a novel that makes references to my novella, so that if it works, they'll say, do you have anything else? And I can say, hey, I got this novella.
Sure.
And it's sort of taken off from there. So I've got at least one that's completely finished. I've got two that I think that are pretty close. And one of them is going to be, is going to have at least one sequel, perhaps two sequels. But one of the things that I struggle with the most is, where do I say that the length of that is? I mean, where do I cut it off? And I'm usually thinking 70 to 80,000 range, but
yeah, for me, my books are around the 60,000. Just for that's it's genre specific. I'm independent, so I don't care what other people think. It's in Kindle Unlimited, you get page by the page read. So the longer the book, the better, but too long and people get bored. And so it just, for me as an author, my books just seem to come out around 60,000. Just that art length is in for me.
And it's not, it doesn't really, you're not really grown. Like, I mean, I saw a lot of authors, like one of my favorite and most influential authors of all times is James Michener. And he came out with one of his early books was 56,000 words, but the last ones were like 56,000 pages.
Right. Yeah. It's each author's different, but it's also the market. The market then was different. Okay. They were paying for shelf space, and the book could be too small, it wasn't worth on being on the shelf, or too big, it took up too much shelf space and all that stuff. And okay, now we've got a famous author, we can do whatever we want because people are buying the name. Here's some rules. To get a book club ad, it's got to be over 45,000. That's what's considered official novel, 45,000. Okay. And so all of us writers that want to go to book club use book club ads, or not book club feature deals, not ads. There's two different things. I'm sorry. Feature deals will make sure our novel's over 45,000, just so I got a chance of getting a book club. Also, and this is a trick. This is for indie authors. If you do an ebook, you also should do a print book on demand. You don't sell any money, but on the Kindle, on the Amazon page, it lists your book length based upon your print length, which is longer than your ebook length, so it looks like a bigger book. My print books are, let's say 300 pages, but on electronic they're 200 pages. So yeah.
Right.
But I don't, I sell $25, $50 a month of print books. Hardly anything. It's just not a market for my world, for independent. This is all based on independent, totally different if you're going to go traditional. Okay. I know probably 50 authors personally that have all tried to go independent, or tried to go traditional and ended up going independent when traditional wouldn't pick them up. Okay. And I know another 5 authors that actually did get picked up by traditional, and all 5 of them have returned to independent. Okay. They can make more money independent than they can through the traditional work.
Mhm.
If that's your goal, if other people, it's not their goal. They're not, this is a dream they've always wanted, and they want to try it, and they want to, do things. Go traditional. I have no problem with it. It's a lot easier in the sense of you will be taken care of, and they'll take care of a lot of the issues and the business side of things, covers and editing and all those types of that. They'll help you out. They'll do all that for you, but you end up paying for it. They're going to take their cut. But there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a great idea. If that's what you want, then do it. And if you want to go independent, do it. If you want to do both and can, then do it. Each author's got to be different.
That's another one of those things that I really picked up on when I started looking at it, was everybody's path was a little different. And I started really seeing a lot of, hey, follow our program and we'll make you a best-selling author. And they're always do this, do that. You don't need that. That's not nowadays. Vanity presses. There's no reason that any person who's intelligent enough to write a book is intelligent enough to figure out how to get it published themselves. They don't need help. And nobody's going to make it a bestseller for you. Okay, a traditional publisher is going to might be able to make it a bestseller for them because they have an incentive. They're going to make some money off of it. But don't ever pay anybody up front to make your stuff a bestseller. You can do the advertising. You can do or hire editors. You can buy the book covers. You can do all the work yourself. I wouldn't. Again, I've seen people get burned really bad by vanity presses.
I agree, and I think there's still a bunch of them out there. That it's real easy to say, "Oh, this sounds so wonderful," and they're going to help me and all that stuff, and all you end up with is boxes and boxes of books that you've got to move, not anybody else. And
if that's what you want to do, then fine. But in reality, you could do that even without going through a vanity press. You know what I'm saying? There's especially nowadays. The world has changed so much as far as publishing that, and I mean, that's why I could not have done what I did 4 years earlier. Okay, you know, I started in what, 14? Yeah, 2014 is when I started publishing. And 2010, I couldn't have done it. You know, the technology wasn't there. The world was not. In fact, I published, and 6 months later is when they introduced Kindle Unlimited. And I, being a genius, thought this was the dumbest idea in the world, and I will never participate. And I just saw some friends of mine start taking off on it. I go, oh, okay, I'll move stuff over and see how it does, you know. And then that's when it already took off. That's when the Regency really took off. But again, it's a genre thing, you know.
Mhm.
More romance readers read in Kindle Unlimited because they're prolific readers. You know, they'll read a book a week, sometimes 2 books a week, 3 books a week, and it's just a lot cheaper for them to go that route. And so, you know, whereas my science fiction, it's maybe 40% of my audience is Kindle Unlimited, but on my Regency, it's 80%. You know, so.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned that genre specific
Mhm.
and the habits of the readers. Obviously, you read a lot of that, so
Mhm.
you could probably use your own style of how you were reading to
Right. Yeah.
probably for slowing off with your time in the military. But
Sure.
how is an easy or good way of determining what some of those, I guess, stereotypical habits might be?
Talking to authors in that genre.
Mhm.
First off, you got to, okay, let's
Mhm.
be specific. All the subgenres, let's say science fiction, military, space opera. Okay, so we're getting really down into details. Those readers nowadays are going to that subgenre looking for tropes, looking for things. Another subgenre would be vampires in space, or, you know, something like that, or vampires is a subgenre of romance, and they're looking for certain tropes. And you, by reading those genres, you can start figuring out those tropes. You know, I'm going to sound real sexist, and I'm sorry, but in a romance, female readers are reading for the hero. Okay,
Mhm.
they're more interested in the hero than in the heroine. So you've got to be careful that your hero is, I mean, romance is a fantasy genre, really, and you got to make sure your hero meets those expectations of what they're looking for. You know, you could write a romance where the male character is short, poor, and bald, and the female character is 5'10", blonde hair, blue eyes, statuesque, and they fall in love. You could write that, and it might be the greatest story ever, but you're not going to sell a lot of them.
That's right.
That's, you know what I'm saying? That's, so there's got to be, you've got to know those tropes. You got to understand the motivation behind the tropes. You got to understand the what your audience is looking for, or do the shotgun approach and put a lot of stuff out there until you find something that you connect with. You know, and that's it. Also, you know, and I'm not trying to make it sound formulaic. Yeah, I don't want to make it sound formulaic, but it is, in the sense of every romance has got boy meets girl, boy and girl break up, boy and girl get back together. Okay, that's a formula, but it's a formula that works. And you try writing a romance without those 3 things in it, and it's not going to sell.
No, it's just
Yeah.
like a mystery. You have to have the
Yeah.
dead body in the very first
Right.
chapter.
Yeah, yeah. And if you show up at the end of the mystery with the murderer being somebody that you've never even seen in the book, the reader will throw it across the room.
Yeah.
And you'll never sell a second book. You know,
Mhm.
so those are the type of tropes that you got to understand. Military sci-fi, it's young boy on his own gets involved and becomes a great warrior. It's the Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. Those type of things. Those are the really broad formulas, but that's, especially in genre fiction, that's what works, and that's what the readers have so much to choose from. Why would I pick a story that I don't think I'm going to like versus one that I think I will like? And that's what it comes down to. Is just it's knowing your market, knowing, and how you find the market is reading in that subgenre, and understanding.
So recently I have taken to reading. So I like to write science fiction. My completed novel is historical fiction. And the one that I'm most actively working on right now, one of the other guys that was in our group originally, he and I call it military porn, but I'm trying to change that. And now I'm calling it a military thriller for the common soldier, because I'm not using, a Navy SEAL, but I've been reading a lot of Brad Thor in particular, because he's a very formulaic writer. He comes out with a book every year, right? And the last one I wrote was strange, because his female didn't die. Usually his female dies or has to go somewhere else. But I would read a chapter and then I'd take some notes and say, main character does this or side character does this. And it ruins for me a little bit of the joy of reading, kind of just like flipping to the next page.
Yeah, hold on a second. I got to say something here. Every writer goes through that, where you start analyzing other people's work and it ruins the work. You'll come out on the other side. Okay, it'll come back to you'll come back. Everybody I know does the same thing, man. It ruined books because I started analyzing everything. After a while, you'll get back into just reading the books and enjoying them. Once you understand enough that you don't have to think through everything, that when you're not, ooh, he did that there. What should I do that there? You'll get past that. And
that sounds like no, that's okay, because it sounds like you've just answered the question before I've asked it, and that is there an easier or better way that doesn't spoil the joy of reading for me?
No, you got to go through it. The analytic part is you need to go through it. You can also do it through movies. If you look at movies, are really good from a story perspective, big plot thing. I should have explained something at the beginning. I'm a discovery writer. I do not do outlines. Outlines ruin the story for me. I have outlined a story and have never written it. Okay, I can't. Part of the reason I write is to discover what happens next. Okay, I might have one or two scenes for the book that I want to get to, or I might have a great opening or a great ending that I want to get to. I'll have a path, but I have no idea how I'm going to get there. And that's just for me. Okay. Every writer's different. And so by analyzing all the stuff that I did when I first started, the craft stuff that you start learning about plot and all this type of thing, it allowed me to be free enough to where I would instinctively start seeing where I was going wrong when I was discovery writing. All right. And I could pull back. I also was submitting once a week to my writer friends, and that, they're in my writing group, and they're telling me, Gary, you're going down the wrong direction here, and that helped a lot too. But that analyzing part gave me the freedom to just write instead of trying to think everything through, because I'd already thought it through. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Discovery sounds a lot nicer than Pantser also.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think discovery writer is taking over from Pantser in the writing community, because too many non-writers don't understand what that means. We say
I've told people before, I consider myself to be a pants liner, because I'm mostly doing it by the seat of my pants, but I do sometimes have an outline.
Okay.
And that also sounds like you write your stories sort of linear, start here.
Very, very linear. Yeah. I have to.
Around.
Yeah, I have to. I will occasionally go back and, well, not occasionally. I'll write and I'll read yesterday's work before I start writing today, just to get me back into the story. Then about halfway through the book, I will stop and go all the way back to the beginning and reread it, editing it, and making changes putting in things that I've now discovered. So I'll put in some foreshadowing and blah, 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 blah. Not a lot, but just, and then I'll do that 2 or 3 times as I'm going through the book. I'll go back. I just yesterday had to go back and add in an entire chapter because my writing group told me I was an idiot for not putting this particular chapter in. But I just did a real quick reference to it, one line. They met at a coffee shop, blah, blah, blah. And the writer was, no. We want to see that interaction. And so I had to go, and I agreed with them. They were right. They're not always right, but when they are, they are. And so I went back and put it in. That's another thing is you got to learn when to not let your writing group
When to listen.
when to listen. And after a while, you'll get there.
Yeah. A little bit about us as a group.
Sure.
We started as, and we still are, an anthology group.
Okay.
And we are, almost all of us are unknowns, which is
Mhm.
one of the keys to doing it, was trying to get us out and get us noticed
Mhm.
writing. And we're starting on our 3rd anthology.
What's a genre?
We're not donating.
No, the genre. I mean, is it?
Oh, it's a mix. Everybody gets to write in their own genre.
Okay.
You grimaced. Gary, you grimaced.
Yeah. I'm sorry. First off, okay, this is me being honest. All right.
Okay.
Anthologies are hard sell.
Mhm.
Yes, they are.
Anthologies that are not all the same genre are an impossible sell. Okay. I mean, for what I'm talking about is a lot. I mean, you can sell a few and give them away because I've been in a few anthologies and everybody agrees that they're not a great way to sell books. What we in my writing group have done to get noticed and early on was we all wrote short novellas, 20,000 word books in the same genre, in the same world with familiar characters. In other words, characters in book 1 show up in book 2, that type of thing.
Mhm.
And so there's 5 of them, and it's 5 of us at that time, 6, and we put them out every week, once a week. Okay, and they're enough of a series situation to where if you read 1, you want to read 2, blah blah blah. And we broadcast to all of our friends, neighbors, and newsletter people. So writer A is telling their people about writer B's book, which is the second one in the series, and that I think worked better than an anthology. Does that make sense? They're all related. It's purely from a marketing perspective that you want to get the readers in, and by them knowing that all 5 books are related, they're more likely to go along. If you've got an anthology with 1 book and none of the stories are related, you've got a book of 10 short stories, not all in the same genre. Most readers are not going to do it. They're going to be, go over here where they know what they're getting.
What we really have is we encourage people to buy because they're, hey, this is his story, but they're going to pick it up and they're not necessarily going to read cover to cover. They're going to pick through and
Okay.
maybe they stumble across one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm not,
Right.
I've done and been in anthologies myself. I'm just saying from a business perspective.
Yeah.
If they were all in the same genre or close enough, if you could find a generic genre, that type of thing.
We've tried to keep a theme, but we haven't tried to keep a genre.
Yeah,
And I think
people
we
don't
knew
buy
it
the
was
right
gonna
things.
it was going to be a tough sell. Right now, we're sitting at 120 books that we've sold of the first one that came out in March,
Okay.
and 94 of the one that came out on October 1st.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we did
yeah.
much better with the autumn themed book in autumn than we did with a tolerance themed book after everyone went through 2020.
Right, I understand. there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that
Everybody start somewhere.
yeah, and
Mhm.
from a business perspective, people are more likely to buy a 20,000 or in KDP. In Kindle Unlimited, they're more likely to read a 20,000 word novella than pick up a anthology. That
Yeah.
makes any sense? Also, you guys, please remember, this is my business model. This is
Yeah.
works for me. Everybody's different. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
experiment and find out. And again, that was one of the things that we learned from my writing group was we all did things differently.
Mhm.
I was the first one to go independent. The others were really trying the traditional. And I went and then I hit. And then so they started coming over. They saw that it was possible. And one of the writing group, and I don't want to name names, but she's a mother of 6 in her 30s, was making $250,000 a year selling books. All right. From nothing. She was, but she is a marketing genius, and she has hit the right notes with her audience and built up a big audience and stuff like that. So it is possible. I'm not trying to say it's not, but it's hard. You got to
Yeah.
be really lucky.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So about that, when we were talking about being independent or traditional, so finding the literary agent that helps, is that even worth it anymore?
Okay. As I mentioned,
It's almost like an exercise in what would I do if I wanted to be a great writer. And you
Right.
do it just to do it. But what I was going to get at was, you said she was a marketing genius who made that money. And is there somebody who can help you with that? Not because I'm not a marketing genius. I would, like you said earlier, people spending a lot of money,
Right.
and they're sort of upside down in
Right.
what the effectiveness of it. So is there
Okay.
something that's almost a literary agent who isn't going to get you in that big publishing company, but they will get you out there? I mean, maybe that's
Okay,
you. Maybe I'm asking you.
I'll be honest with you. If you were a marketing genius and you could make somebody a bestseller because you're a marketing genius, you'd be richer than the authors. Okay, you know, all the money would go to you instead of going to the author. That's one. Two, I believe that a big part of, especially her marketing genius, was her interaction with her audience. Okay, it wasn't somebody else selling her, it was her interacting with her audience. It was also understanding her audience to the point where she could write books that met their needs. Okay, in the sense she understood her audience at an instinctive level. She was their audience, is what I'm getting at. So for her, that was very beneficial. Can you hire somebody to market your book? Yes. Will it make you a lot of money? Probably not. If it does, how much of that is because of the book and how much of that is because of the marketing? I don't know. Nobody knows. You know, even in the traditional world, you know, only 1 out of 10 books makes money. In the traditional world, 9 books do not make enough money to cover their costs. It's the one book that makes 300 times the cost that covers everybody else. If they knew how to make a bestseller, they'd all be bestsellers, and they'd only publish bestsellers. You know, how many authors, traditional authors, do you know that published 3 books and then disappeared? You know, it's common. So hiring somebody else to do that is not a guarantee that it's going to happen. And if it does happen, how much is it going to cost you? And how well could they do? You know, every writer's different. You know, I could be totally wrong and you could find, but I know writers who have done it and it has failed. I do
Um,
not know of any writers who have hired out all of their marketing to where it has been successful.
No.
Okay. I know writers that do it themselves and do very, very well. And in reality, all us independent writers are also publishers. We
Mhm.
do all the stuff that the publishers do. So really, we're independent publishers. You know, in
Yes.
fact, I have my company is a publishing company
Mhm.
that just publishes me only, but it is a publishing company. So
And once you have that, you can publish, like you have your pseudonyms
right,
along with yourself. You don't have to go out and get another EIN number or anything
right,
like that.
no,
But I agree with you on that because I've been in business off and on by myself
uh-huh,
since I retired in 91 from the Air Force. And every single thing I've hired somebody to do, they will never do it to my satisfaction. The only time I have spent quite a bit of money and I feel like I have not wasted a dime was going to a developmental editor because I had no knowledge of writing or anything like that. And she tutored me for a year and a half.
yeah,
And that was the best spent money I ever had, but that had nothing to do with advertising. Advertising, it doesn't matter what it is still the same thing. You've just got to get when you go into a room, you have to know how to walk in. If you're terrified, you walk in and you just stand at the doorway and look around. Take that 5 seconds, then go in. People notice you. They don't think you're arrogant. They don't think you think yourself above anybody else or you're important. They're like, wow, they've got confidence. They know what they're doing.
yeah. And in today's advertising world, online advertising world, the beauty of doing A/B testing and small advertising, it doesn't. If you do it yourself, it doesn't cost a lot until you learn what you're doing right and wrong.
Mhm.
And it's different. Also, audiences and everything. In my writing group, one person's really good at Amazon ads, another person's really good at BookBub ads. I'm pretty good at Facebook ads, and it's just the interaction between the audience, the network, the application. It's just strange what works for some people doesn't work for others.
Mhm. Yeah, it goes back to what is your niche? What is the type of book that you write? Like I work with another group. It's called Scriptorium Fantasia, and they write serious science fiction,
Uh-huh.
not space novellas. I mean, and we're
Right.
talking, like 200,000 words
Mhm.
type of stuff. Yeah, but what they're used to people only putting one book out maybe every 2 years
Right.
because that's the genre.
Right.
Where
And yeah,
Right.
but I would say it's even harder to do independent once every 2 years. It just
Oh yeah,
people forget you. They'll forget
yeah,
you if you want to make a living at it.
yeah.
It's and when I'm saying a living, I'm talking above middle of the country average type living. If you want to just write because you want to write, you want people to read your stuff. Great, do it that way. It's everybody's different.
Now I've got a question back to Kindle Unlimited. If I'm remember correctly, you have to have sole
Right.
publishing through, because see, we don't, because we have to split the cost of the book. Not the cost of the book, but the royalties. So we can't
Yeah.
go straight to Kindle. We do
Well,
sell through Kindle, but we can't.
okay.
That's if you're doing a nonprofit and all the money's going to that, then that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's also everybody has to do what works for them. It's just everything's different.
well, I'm doing Kindle Vella, and I've got one. I mean, she's faithful. She reads every single one. I'm not getting paid big bucks because
Right.
it just started, but I've gotten I'm getting 2 bonuses, $120 in bonuses.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding. Yeah, I've done Kindle Villa and I got a $10 bonus.
That's
So
good.
you're doing very good. Very good.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you. They're supposed to be coming in this month.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. The Kindle Villa is a way to do short stories and serialistic type things, and is something that is well worth investigating. I don't know that you'll make a lot of money at it, but not right away. But it is again a way to build up an audience.
Mhm,
Okay, a way to get your name out there. It doesn't cost you anything.
mhm.
It's very. I know several people that are doing it. Most of them doing much better than I am, but then I am putting a lot of effort into it. But it's very viable option and should be explored by anybody who's looking to be serious.
I've also started, and this is just something because it's absolutely free. I put short stories out on Wattpad for free
Uh-huh. Mhm.
because I don't have, that's one of the biggest free reading services out there in the world.
Yeah.
And if I
Was
can
it?
get,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Didn't 50 Shades of Grey start there?
mhm.
So
And they automatically set it up once you've got it loaded to send it to your social media, a blurb saying it's there, click
Mhm.
here and go read it for
Yep.
free.
anything
So-
you can do to get your books, your writing in front of people is valuable. When I do my book clubs, I'm giving away a free book, hoping they will come back and read the others in the series.
Mhm.
And they do. And readers who have Kindle Unlimited will nicely click on the Kindle Unlimited side, not the free side, because they know that the author is going to get paid. And so that's very beneficial for me. So
Do you know the statistics on Kindle Unlimited?
I think it's, don't quote me on that. 50% of the authors on Amazon are on Kindle Unlimited. It's $38 million a month that they are dividing amongst all of the authors. You get paid per page read. It's usually around 4.045 cent per page.
Mhm. Oh,
So,
you told us.
60,000 word book. I'm going to make $1.50 off of it, basically.
You told us how in the last call I was able to be on with you, how you put your books together and put them on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay. I mean,
Like you have 4 books in a series.
yeah. I will also do a box set.
Mhm.
I'll put after about a year after they've been out, I'll put a box set up and put it up real cheap. Let's say it's 4 novels, and I just did one the other day. And I'm looking for Kindle reads, page reads. Okay, I'm selling it for 99 cents, but I'm selling it at 99 cents to get it up in the rankings, so that I will turn around. People will see it, and then the Kindle Unlimited readers will get it and then read it. So I'll sell it for 99 cents, but if they read the whole thing, I make $6 if they're in the Kindle Unlimited. And I'm using the 99 cents just to get it up in the ranking. I'm not using it to try and make any money. I'm using it to get up in the ranking so that I can get the money on the unlimited side. Does that make any sense?
Mhm.
That makes sense, but it confused me. Perhaps it's just because of my lack of understanding of how Kindle Unlimited works.
Oh, okay. You paid $10 a month, and you can read any book that's in Kindle Unlimited, and then read, get up to 10 of them. Actually, you can get up to more than 10, but only 10 at one time. And so it's averaging that the average reader is reading about 2,000 pages of book a month. That's what 2,000. That's and those are Kindle Unlimited pages, not print pages.
Yeah.
So it's about 5 books a month. Okay, and for $10. and the writers get paid by the page. So that if I write a 60,000 word, 300 page book, I'm getting half a cent, so I get $1.50 for that book. If I sold that book for $2.99, I get $2.06. I'm sorry. So I make less on Kindle Unlimited, but Kindle Unlimited readers aren't buying my books. They've got Kindle Unlimited, and there's 1,000 books out there available for them. Why would they go? They've already spent their $10 a month on Kindle Unlimited, so why would they wouldn't go buy a book or my book? So it's two different audiences is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's a subscription model for Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, because they offer it both to
Right,
the readers. Along with if you've got it in print too.
right.
So
As
they
a
can,
reader, I could choose to buy it, which would put more money in your pocket, or I could just choose to read it, which is going to put money in your pocket also.
Right, but that's yes, exactly. But Kindle Unlimited readers don't buy very many books. They're reading books in Kindle Unlimited.
So the different
Okay.
audience would be the person that's just going to read 5 books a month, doesn't want to buy 5 books a month.
Right.
God,
Right.
I'm glad my wife is not listening. I just bought
Okay.
4 books last week.
Yeah.
So the Kindle Unlimited reader can read more books without buying them all,
Right.
and saves money for
Right.
them versus the people who do go out and buy the books.
Right.
Okay.
And also, readers in certain genres are more likely to use Kindle Unlimited. Those
Right.
genres being romance, especially Regency romance. They will buy 5 books a week or use Kindle Unlimited to read 5 books a week.
I remember, growing up as a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, that, oh, hey, we're going to see Aunt Nancy, so
Yeah.
I need you to take this whole grocery sack full of Harlequin romance books to her
Right.
because I bought all of these, but I'll send them over there to her. So it was very much a quantity thing.
Right.
With
Yeah.
that genre.
Exactly.
That part makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's and as I say, people are reading romance to get that adrenaline rush of love, that feeling, and so once you do that, you want more and more and more of it. So that's why they will read a lot more books. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a
Lynn?
question.
Sure. Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. Now, since you self-publish and you don't go through an agent or use an outside publishing company that would edit your book, do you have a particular editor that you use for all your books?
Yeah.
Or how do you do that?
First off, my writing group helps me. I use 2 editing programs, Editor and Grammarly. Then I send it to a friend who is now a retired English teacher, and she goes through it. Then my wife goes through it, and then so another person will go through it. I do not pay for an editor, which has hurt me in the past. I've gotten negative reviews because the books were not perfect. But I'm willing to live with that to save the money. It'd be about $600 to have it proofread and edited like that. So I'm not gonna. I just don't do it. But I get it. Basically, 6 people see it before I put it out, and still mistakes get through. It's just I'm not perfect. But then I read a Stephen King novel last week, and they had an error in it too. So it's like, yeah, I saw that. I go, oh, okay, I'm in the same class.
I actually two of the my top 5 most influential authors of all times. 2 of them I actually wrote because I said, hey, this is a flaw in your book, and there were a lot, and some of them were just editing, some of them were actually plot holes.
Right.
And I got back handwritten correspondence from both Clive Cussler and Arthur C. Clarke after I basically insulted their books.
Right. I will get that too, but it'd be via email. I will occasionally get a thing, and I hate it when they're right. I made an historical fact error on one of my books, and it just like, oh, I just cringe. But the beauty is, I went in and fixed it and put it up and reloaded it. So it's not. It didn't kill me. I mean, all those readers who saw it before I fixed it Oh, well, I'm sorry, I screwed up, but hey, you got a book for $2.99, so I'm not gonna super worry about it, it's, and my rankings and ratings are pretty good, averaging on my reviews, so I'm not super worried. I think I'm, now then, the other people in my writing group do pay for editors or proofreaders, and everybody's different, it's gotta do, it would probably be best if you did, but I don't, so don't listen to me.
Okay, thank you.
Covers, I pay about $100 for a cover. Again, the reason for a cover is to get people to read the blurb.
Mhm.
The reason for the blurb is to get people to read the book. And if you got to think of it that way. So my covers are generic, genre appropriate. They identify this book as this type of book. Just by looking at the cover, you can say what kind of book it is. Which is all I want.
Mhm.
And they're good. They're good covers. I like them. Everything. It's nothing great, but I'm not going to spend $10,000 for a cover for a book that it's only going to make $600. It's just no. So I spend $100, get a cover. It's a pre-made cover. I see it before it looks. She takes what she's done and puts the title and the author name on it. So I know what I'm getting, and it works for me. So all of us writers in the writing group, pretty much the same thing. Some occasionally have some specific things they want, and they might spend $200 on a book cover. Don't spend more than $500.
Mm-mm.
It's in today's world, it's all going to be thumbnails anyway, and
Yeah.
You're not selling on a shelf. You're not going to be in a bookstore, except maybe you're local, and that's it. So don't worry about that. Don't get the cover that tells your reader what kind of book this is,
Mhm.
so that you can then turn around and get a blurb that tells them what kind of book this is, and a sample of your writing and voice, and
How do you write your blurbs?
difficultly. I hate writing blurbs.
Me too.
It's the worst thing in the world. And I will I do 2,000 to 3,000 words a day, 5 days a week. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it averages out that way. Of regular writing. I can do 2,000 words in 2 hours, 3 hours. All right. That's it. My writing for the day, and it's great. I can spend 8 hours on a 500-word blurb. It's like pulling teeth. You just do it. You just keep doing it. I use a lot of bullet points, and then go back and then flesh them out with narrative instead of making bullet points. But I have to keep reminding myself that a blurb is a sales pitch, not a book description.
Mm.
Okay, that is key. Okay, you're there to sell the book. You're not there to describe the book.
Mhm.
And so my blurbs are, as a result, usually a little bit shorter than a lot. If it's a two-person POV book, which most of mine are for romances, but even my science fictions are multi-POV. But I'll try and on my blurb do both POVs. The hero's doing this and the heroine's doing this, and this is the problem they face. And try and give them a little level of my voice, snark or whatever. And having done it a lot and helping my writer friends do it a lot, you just learn to do it. It just, one of those things I hate it. I put it off until the last minute, until I'm actually ready to publish my book. and I can't publish my book without a blurb. That's the only thing that makes me do a blurb. All right. And they're very important. They're the most critical thing you can do. But I just hate it so much because it's trying to, describe your child in, one sentence, and whatever you say, you can't hurt their feelings. It's really hard. But do it.
Okay.
I've got two other questions, and I don't know if either one of them's going to be quick or fast, but I'll ask, do you use a particular writing software or just?
Microsoft Word.
Okay.
That's what I grew up with. That's what I know.
Yeah.
Everybody else used Scrivener or Apple or blah, 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 blah. I just knew Microsoft Word inside and out. And, I like it. I love it.
So a lot of, what we've talked about here, I mean, obviously there may be someone who you talk to who writes down everything you say and says, this is the way I'm going to do it. And
Right.
maybe just as successful as you. I don't expect that. I know that's not me, but I've tried to write down a lot of the things that you said. And I'm going to go back to one of those early on things. And I'm not asking this as a specific or because I need an exact answer, but you said you talked to your wife. You said 6
Right.
months. I'm going to be a full-time writer. Did you say, in 6 months you have to prove that you can do this viably and bring in money, or I need to bring in X dollars, or perhaps you just wanted to match one of your retirements or?
Right, yeah. I said I have to, we came up with the nut, how much I had to make a month before I retired, before I left the Navy, before I left, this is how much our bills are. This is how much she makes. This is how much my retirement is. I have to cover this remaining part. So I had to make X, and I was able to make X within 3 months.
Basically using the business model that you've described.
Right. But I got lucky. Okay. And this was, years ago,
Sure.
and 7 years ago. The market's a lot harder now. When I first published, there was 1 million books on Amazon. Now there's 10. It's a lot harder to find and to discover. But yeah, that was the way I did it. We figured out our bills, and I'm lucky. I've got the most perfect wife who wanted me to be happy, and she wanted me to, she wanted me to succeed, and she took a risk. I mean, it's hey, I'm leaving my job, and because when I left the Navy, I didn't retire from the Navy. I just left. It was either leave or die. I was worried about waking up one morning with my head on my desk, dead, with falling on a report that nobody would ever read and stuff like that. I just
somebody
needed
would
to
have
get
to
up.
finish.
Yeah. Well, they just put it up on the shelf and pretend it was done. That was the bureaucracy. I was an IT specialist and I was running an IT department, and it was just all bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to leave. I desperately wanted to leave, and we came up with this plan, and it worked. But I could, if my wife had been insistent that I make as much money as I did when I left my job as a highly paid government employee, I wouldn't have been able to do it right away.
Right.
But we didn't look at it that way. We looked about what's the minimum I had to make before I could do it. And there was the fallback. The minimum was, well, if 6 months I can't get it work, I can go get another job that pays enough to cover this minimum. It wouldn't be paying as much, but I wasn't worried about, we weren't going to starve.
After 6 months, you also still could have been carried as leave without pay at your government job and probably could have been able to return to that easily as well. It depends on how the organization works.
Yeah, and how many
That's the way the
bridges I
Corps
burnt.
does.
And depending on how many bridges I burnt before I was left,
Mhm.
that type of thing. No, there was no way I was going back to that job. I would have delivered pizzas. I would have done anything.
Yeah,
not
you
to go
mentioned
back to that job. Yeah, I would have. I could get a job a lot of different places and make enough money to live off it.
Yeah.
But by downsizing and the kids out of the house, all of our expenses were down significantly. We were able to do it. And as she will say, it was the best thing that ever happened to her. She got a happy husband. She's thrilled. The writing group that I'm in, several of the members, most of the members are younger women. At least when we first started, they were, and at first I was concerned that she would be bothered because I was meeting with these women and a couple men once a week. and then until she saw all the help that they were giving me, you know, how much they made me better. And then they were the greatest people on the earth. So yeah, I can understand. I wish I would have planned for this earlier. Like, I wish I'd been writing for 40 years and I had a trunk full of novels ready to go. But like I said, yeah, it was about 4 years of writing and planning before I went independent. And I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, but none of them were irrevocable. You know, nothing that I never did anything that I couldn't fix or couldn't change for the next book. You know, I've written books. I read a 100,000 word book that's been published for 10 years, no, 7 years. It was one of my first 4 that I've maybe made $1,000 on. Okay. Then I put 6 months of work into that book. I've also wrote a short story that I wrote in one day that I've made $5,000 on. So, you know, you don't know what you're doing when you first start out. You know, I wasted my time writing books that nobody wanted to read. There were books that I wanted to read or that I thought I did. You just learn that, you know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a superficial question.
Sure.
As you've been speaking with us today, part of the time there's darkness around you and your face is lit, and part of the time it's light. What's happening?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's early morning, gray morning here in Washington, and the room. I see what you're saying. It just, my camera's reacting to the light, and I don't know why.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
It's no problem. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know.
I thought it was
I'm
great
not
because
as-
he starts talking, he gets to a really good point and it brightens up. And he's kind of like, you know, when he's thinking and he's just looking up and it's.
I'm sorry. I
The
didn't even
epiphany
realize
moment.
it. I'm sorry.
No
I'm
problem.
not a Zoom expert now. Sorry.
None of us are, even though
Yeah.
we've been using it for a while now.
Yeah. Anna, you had something?
Yeah, I wanted to know, you said you don't use a professional editor. So after you've revised and edited with the help of your friends and your wife and everybody in the group, how do you know that the book is ready to be published? You know, how do you know when enough is enough?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. Okay. When I first started, I didn't know, and I just published it anyway. Okay. And I thought that I was not good enough, and I was expecting to be a massive failure and to be laughed at. But I did it anyway. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm a big boy. I can get laughed at. It's not going to kill me. And then I started getting feedback. I will never, ever forget the first time I got an email from somebody in England about a book I wrote, thanking me for writing the book, all right, and loving it, all right. I got one email, and that was enough for me to say, okay, I'm not an imposter. I at least have something there, okay. I might not be great, but I made one person happy, and then you get more of that. So what I'm getting at, you'll never know when it's perfect and good enough to publish. Okay, you'll just know that you've got to do it. You just got to get out there and do it. If you cannot wait. And also, I saw this with some of my friends. They would work on the book and work on the book and work on the book, and the longer they worked on the book, the worse it got. Okay, the rewrites, right? They wrote the voice right out of it. They wrote the inspiration and the joy right out of it. And so you got to be careful about that. There, you know, that weight is never going to be perfect, you know, where you've got everything might be perfect for one reader and not perfect for another reader. Whereas if you'd done it a month earlier, it'd been the other way around. It'd been perfect for that reader and not another. So yeah. As far as the editing side of it, the proofreading side of it, again, you'll never know for sure that it's perfect because it won't be. Some mistakes will get through. It just does. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, but I think that's a really important part, though, is to learn, especially as new writers, as I've seen it. So I know a writer who's been writing the same book for 12 years. That just hit me. It's been 12 years and he's still writing the same book. And it's a trap we all fall into. You got to be careful. You know, I have no problem writing a book for 12 years if you're writing other things in the same time and coming back to it. That's one different. But the same book, I was in the original writing group with him. I read the same chapter 7 times. It would come through, you know, and just get it out there, especially for genre fiction. You know, it's just get it out there, and I learned a lot by what I put out and the feedback I got. You know, you learn from your audience. You know, I also learned not to listen to them sometimes. I had a fan write me, and we've corresponded back and forth, and he had a suggestion for a book that he told me I could use and stuff like that. And it was part of the continuation of the series. And I tried writing that book and I couldn't, you know, because it was his idea. I couldn't, because of the discovery method of what I used, I just couldn't write that book. So I wasted 2 months trying, you know, so things you learn. I just, you know, my wife is great at plot and titles, and terrible at craft and character. And so when I'm thinking, when I have a plot problem, I'll go to my wife. You know, if I have a character problem, I'll go to my writer friends, my writer group. You know, so you learn where your resources are. I did on this is a good story that I think I should pass along. For my wife, I wanted her to learn the business side of things in case anything happened to me. She would still be able to, you know, do all the advertising and stuff like that. So I wrote books under her name, or she picked a pseudonym, and I wrote books and I gave them to her to publish and do everything. They were her books. She got the money. Everything was hers. And she learned a lot, but we discovered that because she doesn't have the ownership of those books in her mind, she didn't write them. She wasn't as invested in making them work as I am with my books. You know what I'm saying? So and she loved them, and they were written for her by, you know, her plot ideas with the type of genre she wanted. And it achieved what I wanted, is it taught her what she needed to know to carry on if anything happens to me. She knows how to do a book club. She knows how to publish. She knows how to do Facebook ads. She knows, you know, all the little things that you need to do. And it also brought her into my world a little bit more. And so it was a very beneficial, you know, didn't make a lot of money, made her some money, not a lot, but enough to where it was, you know, a nice Christmas for her. And so, I did 3 books and about 10 novellas for her. Yeah. But, you know, I didn't mind giving them to her for the money, because otherwise the money just, I'm giving her them from my money, so it doesn't matter. It's all one thing. If she says my money is her money and her money is her money.
Yeah, exactly.
But it worked. But it was a smart way to get her into the business so that she understood what's going on. And because of all the talking we did about it, to understand what I'm going through when I'm writing. You know, she now knows not to bother me if I'm writing, because if she does, it takes me a half hour to get back into it. You know, a 30-second question can cost me half an hour. If it's important, yeah, interrupt me. And she knows that that's what the level of importance is. Is there a meteor going to hit us? Is the house on fire? The kids broke a bone? You know, otherwise leave me alone. But then, as she says, you're not writing enough. You should be writing more, because you know, the more you write, the more money I make. So she's very, very supportive of my writing. You know, so I'm very lucky there.
One of the things that I wanted to say, and this, you know, ties into when is it done? It's when do you also start? I had been wanting to write, and I started several different careers. and stopped them. And then I discovered this book,
Uh-huh.
Shut Up and Start Writing, you know,
Right.
stop talking and start writing. And that's what I did. And in 90 days or in 45 days, I had a 100,000 word book.
Mm.
But it was doing that. And then I realized when I gave it to beta readers that it was crap.
Uh-huh.
So I learned that then you do have to have somebody else look at it and help you go
Oh, yeah.
through it and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Especially at the beginning. But even now, I just had a writing group last night, and they had 4 chapters to read, and they still had insights that I had not seen, you know,
Mhm.
but I wasn't ready for.
Yeah. So, but I think it's being part of groups like this, because we have started a critique group
Mhm.
every other week,
Mhm.
and bringing in and just going over some things like that, and then doing this anthology, and we also critique everybody's story that
Mhm.
goes into the anthology too. So it's
Mhm.
not just
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
and all of that is causing all of us to grow.
Yeah, critiques are critical. Critique, especially when you're first starting out. I would not have succeeded without 4 years of critiques before I started publishing. I mean, when I first started, I didn't understand, didn't even know there was a word like POV, you know,
Mhm.
point of view. What do you mean I can't skip around inside the same paragraph? You know, that type of stuff. What do you mean I can't have all the names of the characters all start with the same letter? You know, those like just simple little things that I had no concept of. And I just think I don't know if I told, there's online, this, I didn't find this out till after I've been publishing for a while, is a video series on YouTube by Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson, the world famous science fiction writer. He is a professor also, it doesn't need to be because he's a millionaire, but he's a professor at BYU. And he does this course on writing science fiction. Okay. And he does it every year. So there's like 7 years worth of the same material out there. Unbelievably valuable for a new writer. Every writer, doesn't matter what genre they are, should watch every one of those episodes for a whole year, the whole bunko. Goes into plot, character, into agents, into publishing, into all of the things you need to know as a writer. But just, you know, story arcs, but describes things from a writer's perspective, not from, and a reader's perspective, not from a college professor's perspective, a literary perspective. It's a different, so I would strongly recommend watching Brandon Sanderson's videos. They were very, very helpful. Even though I'd already published, I went back and it reaffirmed a lot that I knew, but also gave me a lot of insights to other things. Because it's, when you're writing, you need to understand the 6-7 layers of the different reasons why you're doing things. And so that when one of those layers is not matching up, you can understand why. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I read, you know, Stephen King's on writing is great, but there's a lot of things online that are just talking about writing, craft are very good. I got a book on voice that was very valuable to me. The different layers of voices and why you do certain things certain ways and things like that. That was very valuable to me. I think voice is not taught enough and is left as considered to be artistic and individual, but I think it's also one of the most important things a writer has. And you need to work on that voice. You need to understand why you use the word choices that you do, and what voice is the audience looking for. You know, those type of things. It's 90% of it might be natural, but there's also 10% of craft in your voice. I think. This is just, and we've had these arguments in my writing group all the time. You know, our discussions. You know, how much is voice, how much is plot, how much is character. You know, and yeah.
What was that reference again about the book about voice?
Oh, I don't remember it. I'm sorry. I
Okay,
was looking over here to see if I could see it, and I can't. It was not. I had to get it on. God, It was a used bookstore that I got it at, online
Okay.
used bookstore. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But the main thing was the difference between formal and informal voice, and the time period, and the character voice, and the author voice, and all this stuff. And one word can change your entire perception of the
Yeah.
reader of and voice. You know, be more, everything, alliteration. How often do you do it? You know, those type of things. Everything's all wrapped up. To me, anything that's not character or plot is voice. Pacing, the length of your paragraphs, the length of your chapters, the length of your sentences, the word choices that you make, all those are all voice, and that's, I think, critical. I mean, when I'm reading, if I don't like the voice, I won't get past page 3.
Mhm.
So take that into account.
Oh, I agree with you. Well, I can't believe it. It's been an
Oh,
hour.
I'm sorry if I talked too long.
No, no,
sorry.
I don't think anybody's disappointed at all. Does anybody have one last question before, because we want to have you back,
Okay.
maybe in about middle of next year,
Sure.
and that way you can see how we've grown.
Yeah. And listen, if anybody's got any particular questions, or you come up against something, don't hesitate to, you've got my email address, just send me an email and
Yeah,
I'll respond.
I'll put it in chat right now.
I don't mind talking to writers about writing. As you can see, I could talk all day. It's strange. I work by myself at home, and I very rarely interact with people. And then I get on a thing like this, and I can talk for hours. You put me on my phone to my kids or anybody else. Yes, no, thank you, bye. You get going on this stuff, and I can talk forever.
Okay, I put it up in the chat, so everybody should have it. And if you don't get it, you can always contact me, or it's gl@glsnodgrass.com.
Great.
So
That's another thing. If you want to build a business long term, get your own website, get your own domain. You will
Absolutely.
appreciate it down the road.
I have a website and a domain, but I told Kathleen this the other day. I got a call from one of those publishing, self-publishing magnates that said, "Well, we want to talk to you about we want to talk to the author Jonathan Bird about his book written, titled," and then they gave me the name of a book by another guy by the name of Jonathan Bird. On Goodreads, my name is Jonathan space Bird, which means there's 2 other people named Jonathan Bird on there. So my website doesn't say Jonathan Bird. I've got Birdmouse. It's a nickname from my Army days. And I keep wondering if I need to try and do something like, Jonathan Bird author or writer Jonathan Bird or something like that.
I have 2 domains. I have one called Author Nate Joe with the author Nate Johnson, because I couldn't get Nate Johnson. And then I had the GL Snodgrass one. I get it. It doesn't have to be exact your name for your domain. You know what I'm saying? But get one and then use it to start building your audience. I'm not talking a lot, but just that's the key, is building an audience.
Yeah.
And domain is a good way to go. You put your website and your email up there.
yeah, because you're Birdmouse. Most people that know you as Jonathan Bird.
Right.
So if it's in a search anywhere, somebody can, if you've got that in your meta tags for your website, it'll come up to it.
Yeah, I also put almost everything I get on my web or my emails comes from the links inside my books. I don't get people searching for me very often. I get people, because I put in my, at the author notes at the end, here's my Amazon test, here's my email, here's my Facebook, here's my book, blah, 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 blah. Please write me, so I got all the links in there. And that's where I get most of my connections from, coming over to Facebook, coming over to whatever. And then at the end of the book, I also put in the first 2 chapters of the next book.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think everybody needs to turn off their mute and applaud him.
Okay. Thank you. Like I said,
Thank you.
I enjoyed this very much, very intelligent questions, and I appreciate that. I'm glad to see people that are serious. Good luck, and I hope the best for all of you. And like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email. I might not know the answers, but I'll give you an opinion. All right,
Okay.
because I'm very good at opinions, like most writers.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.